Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching Discussion Today with your host Kriti Mishra. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has released the 7th installment of financial benefits under the Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi. Pressing a button, the Prime Minister transferred over 18,000 crore rupees to over 9 crore beneficiary farming families. He also held virtual interaction with farmers from 6 states. Prime Minister assured farmers on the continuation of the minimum support price and government-run mandis. The Prime Minister said that through the 3 agri reforms, the farmers have been given better options to sell their produce. And to discuss about PM Kisan and new laws and other initiatives for the farmers, I'm joined by Mr. Sanjay Singh, senior journalist, and Mr. Ashok Tandon, senior journalist. Welcome to Rajya Television, gentlemen. Mr. Tandon, coming to you first. Big takeaways for you from Prime Minister's interaction with the farmers.
The occasion was, as you very rightly mentioned, was the 7th installment of the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, 18,000 crore given to 9 crore farmers. But the major takeaway of today's event was that the BJP organized a massive show of strength by organizing Kisan Chapal in different parts of the country with top leadership like the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, the Home Minister Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari, Transport Highway Minister, and Smriti Irani, and many other leaders, addressing the farmers at the respective rallies. And then Prime Minister, after pressing the button for the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, he addressed the farmers. In a way, it was a direct dialogue by the Prime Minister, not only with the farmers of the country, but with the people of the country also. It was such a massive show today that the Prime Minister reached out to perhaps the entire country today. And that occasion, the Prime Minister utilized for not only listing the achievements of his government toward the welfare of the farmers and the agriculture sector and other sectors as well, but also explaining point by point all the demands of the agitating farmers and clause by clause the benefits which the farmers are getting from the 3 farm laws. And he said these laws have been enforced for quite some time. In the meantime, bumper procurement has taken place as part of the laws and with the MSP. Plus, meanwhile, the government has also enhanced the MSP, not only with respect to the couple of crops, which was initially, now again a large number of crops have been added. So he gave a point by point clarification on each and every aspect of the farm laws and the issues which are agitating the farmers. And then the most important takeaway was the way in which the Prime Minister appealed to the farming community, the agitating farmers, literally appealing with the sort of an open mind, an open heart, that even then, if you have anything left to be clarified, please come to the negotiating table and we will resolve all the pending issues. Because the government, he said, has nothing. Why should a government which is popularly elected by the people be doing anything which is not in the interest of the farmer? So therefore, it was a historic occasion today. And I do hope that after clause by clause explanation, point by point rebuttal, there must be a positive response from the agitating farmer. But one thing, simultaneously, what the Prime Minister was doing was he was hitting out as his political adversary. He picked up first the West Bengal government. He said this particular scheme of Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, even that the West Bengal government of Mamata Banerjee is not allowing 70 lakh farmers of West Bengal to benefit. He said lakhs of farmers have applied online, but her government is not even giving the clearance. So he said this, and then he hit out at the left front also. He said they were in power for 30 long years. what did they do for the farming community, agriculture sector? And now they are trying to express solidarity with the Punjab farmer. So it was a political message to his adversaries, as well as direct dialogue with the farmers, and also trying to tell the countrymen what exactly his government has done, what his government plans to do, and also why unnecessarily political parties are trying to take advantage of this agitation. And these are the very parties who have lost credibility. They have lost election after election, and now they are trying to, take advantage of this particular agitation. So that was the entire sum and substance of it. And mind you, Mr. Rajnath Singh, Mr. Amit Shah, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, they were all addressing the rallies at respective places, and they were trying to explain the people. So it was a massive reach out to the farmer as well as to the countrymen on the occasion of Atal Bihari Vajpayee's birth anniversary, and therefore I think it was a historic day.
Well, absolutely, sir. And also it was a direct communication between the Prime Minister and the farmers. We'll talk about the new laws in just a bit, but talking about PM Kisan. Mr. Singh, as Mr. Tandon pointed out, that West Bengal hasn't implemented PM Kisan. Now, the state government has its own reasons. It says that it has its own schemes. What is your take?
See, the duplicity of Mamata Banerjee is very clear in this regard. She has never implemented, as Prime Minister today said, and this was also widely known that she has not implemented PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, and thereby, as Tandon Sahab said, depriving 70 lakh farmers out there of benefits of this particular scheme. And then a few days ago, Mamata Banerjee writes a letter to Agriculture Minister asking him to release funds, and because he wants to implement, but not in name of PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. She wants her own kind of stamping to be there. That is a political move, and that people in West Bengal would obviously see as to what she wants, what she says, what she intends, and what she does, the politics behind her publicity. Another point is Mamata Banerjee never verified the scheme, the people who themselves registered, about 23 lakh of them, with the scheme. And Prime Minister very clearly said, states which do not implement this particular thing, said there are two things. Prime Minister reaching out directly to the farmers, all of BJP leaders and workers, senior post to the Karyakarta at block level, reaching out to people, communicating directly with them, farmers in particular. And be in contrast to that, if you see, what actually is the highlight of the day, that with one click of button, obviously, a lot of groundwork has gone into that. The beneficiary, the 2,000 rupees each per farmer, has reached to about 9 crore farmers. And if you know, Jandan accounts were created, and a whole lot of thinking and planning went into that about DBT schemes. Besides that, Rajiv Gandhi had famously said, out of 1 rupee that we send, only 15 paisa reaches to farmer. Today is a situation, today is a Prime Minister, and today a system he has created whereby every rupee that you send from here, all 100 paisa reaches to farmer. There is no intermediary from central account. It goes to individual beneficiary accounts. That's a big thing. Another thing, when the whole of government and whole of leading party led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when they were communicating, they communicate directly with people about issues of welfare and development. The opposition parties are only centered on Twitter and issuing press statements. That is the difference between the party which is in power today and the party which are in opposition. I think today's event, I think this was 5th or 6th direct communication by Prime Minister to farmers directly and to people at large.
All right, sir. I'd like to analyze the impact of PM Kisan on farmers. Mr. Tandon, more than 1,10,000 crore rupees have been transferred directly into the bank accounts of farmers under the scheme. How do you think this scheme has transformed the entire support ecosystem for farmers?
See, first of all, farmers in this country didn't have bank accounts. Now, when bank accounts were opened under the Jan Dhan Yojana, a lot of issue was made by the opposition. Where will the money come from if it's an account? Now, gradually we have seen scheme after scheme, direct bank debit is being done, not only in respect of the farmers, but in respect of women and other deprived sections of the society. Now, when the money has started directly reaching into the bank accounts of the farmer, all middlemen have gone, and the direct beneficiary are now getting the money. That itself is very significant, and that is happening to a whole lot of schemes which have been, started by this government. I personally feel that the opposition initially was saying, why is Prime Minister silent on the issue of the farmer? Now, today, the Prime Minister, he was talking literally from his heart, that he is willing to go an extra mile, provided the farmers are willing to listen to him. Because after all, whatever has been offered by the government so far is also a result of the negotiation. So in a democracy, the only way forward to resolve any issue is a dialogue. And today, Prime Minister was repeatedly was appealing to the agitating farmers to come to the negotiating table. But at the same time, he assured the farmers that MSP is going to stay, mandis are going to stay, nobody is going to take away your land, no corporate is going to make you some kind of a hostage. And in fact, at his rally, Ahmad Shah went to the extent of saying, so long as Mr. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister, MSP is going to stay, and no corporate is going to take away your land. So these assurances coming from the top notch of the government, Prime Minister, Home Minister, Defense Minister, Agriculture Minister. So there is no reason why the farmers would not be listening to that. And today, I think the manner in which Prime Minister explained the situation and also listed the benefits, I have a feeling that it will definitely have a positive response from the farming community and the agitating leaders of the farmers. They would not go by what some of the opposition leaders are trying to tell them, but they will see reason. And I do hope that in the light of what the Prime Minister has promised today, what the Prime Minister has assured today, there should be resumption of dialogue very soon, and we should see normalcy returning to the farming community, to the agriculture sector, and also the inconvenience which is being caused to the general public. It's a corona pandemic time. It's winter time. It's in the larger interest of the agitating farmer also to not only absorb what the Prime Minister has assured, but also if they have any remaining doubts, they should get back to the negotiating table. And I do hope that very soon we will see that things are resolved to the satisfaction of everybody.
So you made a very important point there about the benefits reaching the targeted beneficiaries. Mr. Singh, of course, we know that PM Kisan scheme has plugged the leakages. Earlier also, we've had schemes for supporting farmers' income. What is that one distinctive feature of PM Kisan scheme that comes to your mind?
See, I have experienced the kind of happiness enjoyed this scheme and direct transfer of cash to their bank accounts actually mean. I've seen those joys and those happiness and what that actually means for people in hinterland. And they all are very happy. They are committed to what Prime Minister has said and also about the 3 laws, because this is actually in their favor. What has brought great worthiness to Prime Minister is that his socially beneficial schemes, this PM Kisan Samman Nidhi, Ujjwala Yojana, Saubhagya Yojana, and so many other schemes where beneficiary have been given direct transfer of cash, and also schemes like housing for poor, and so on and so forth. There are so many schemes that will go on in detail, and thereby his credibility and the popular belief in Prime Minister is so much that no matter how opposition tries hard, that has not yielded them any result. So thereby, I see these protests as a very clever ploy, whereby you put farmers on the forefront. Remember this particular scheme, these 3 laws are now law of land for past few months. And then why these protests sprouted recently? Prior to that, they were trying to generate some kind of wave. The problem here is people, their vested interest, who want these protests to go on indefinitely. When you begin on the premise that first repeal these three laws and then we'll talk. Remember when Agriculture Ministry asked them for point-by-point suggestions about what are lacunae, what are flaws in these three laws, they did not have an answer. The problem out there is when you want to create or make this information campaign, then you don't go by facts, you go by rhetoric. And therefore, farmer khatam ho jayega, bik jayega, barbaad ho jayega, private sector aa jayega, zameen harap lega, all kinds of narratives and all kinds of rhetoric come into play. The problem actually lies there. And therefore, when Prime Minister today said people who have lost politically and have lost popular belief and faith in them, they somehow are trying to find some space in media, and through media, they are trying to make their presence felt politically because they can't fight Narendra Modi politically, and therefore they are indulging in all kinds of ploy, putting farmers on the in Hindi they say किसानों के कंधे पे बंदूक चलाना, and that actually is a very, very unfortunate development in these protests.
Now, when Prime Minister was interacting with the farmers, one of the farmers said that this has provided them with a better alternative. What are the benefits of the new laws, Mr. Tandon?
See, the major benefit of the three laws to the farmer is that they can sell their produce anywhere in the country. Like one farmer from Madhya Pradesh said that he sold soybean to ITC and he made a lot of money. So, and therefore, if somebody who is producing soybean or is trying to sell soybean in some other state like Maharashtra, they are free to do so. And that benefit, that incentive was not there earlier. Number one, they still have the choice to sell their produce through the mandis, or MSP is assured in not only respect of 2 crops, but in respect of 23 crops. So therefore, MSP has been enhanced, and the government invariably every year enhances the MSP. So you have a choice to sell your produce at the MSP rate, or through the mandi, or directly to the trader, or to anyone who is willing to give you a better price. Whether that produce of Punjab wheat, if it is sold in, say, Gujarat, and they get a good price, they can take their produce. They can also collectively form associations in their own village and then do collective selling of their produce. So all these benefits, actually what was earlier available to farmers, the avenues which were available to farmers earlier, now have been expanded. Nothing has been taken away. Because the fear which is being sought to be created is that MSP which will eventually go. So today's assurance from the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, and in fact the Defence Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, went a step ahead. He said, let these laws work at least for 1 year. And if these laws are not in the larger interest of the farmers and the agriculture sector, the government will amend whatever is required to be done. So I think in the light of all this, and one thing which is very pertinent is that from day one, the government has not been rigid on these laws. It has taken a very, very flexible position. And that was reflected from Prime Minister's statement today, that look, this is exactly what we have put on the table. This is what we have done for the welfare of the farmers, and keeping in view that the larger agriculture sector benefits, because that is the backbone of our economy. So we have done what we could do. He said we are not perfect. Maybe there are certain things which we might have missed, and if you have pointed it out, let's resolve it. Let's come to the negotiating table. I think in a democracy, what else? And he said, I respect the opposition. And
all right, sir. Before we end this
flexible.
conversation, Mr. Singh, COVID-19 was an exogenous shock that disrupted economies across the globe. Now, business leaders, policymakers are pinning their hopes on rural India for a robust recovery. What are the measures that the government can take to boost rural consumption? Or what are the measures it can announce in the budget?
See, government has already taken a lot of measures to boost rural economy, beginning with when COVID was actually, lockdown was actually enforced. The self-employment scheme, the other schemes which whereby migrant labor could be utilized, and other developmental work actually started with Unlock 1 period. And you see several areas were demarcated as special districts, whereby aspirational districts, and where a great deal of work is going on. And then they were also provided with the first biggest, I think, perhaps the biggest ever kind of socially beneficial program, whereby poor were provided with food grains for 6 months, and that all for free. Because if you have your basic necessities taken care by the government, that is food items and other small things, then of course you can get into more constructive work. And this, I think, therefore, I was saying around the time when economic recovery process was going on, the protest actually has been made much bigger by the kind of media attention that it is getting, because this is centered on Delhi borders. This is actually harming economy a great deal. There are various figures running into thousands of crores of rupees. The government actually is very, very consistent in this matter about budgetary support, about mid-budgetary support, and otherwise other interventions to inject economy in rural areas in particular. And Prime Minister also is very particularly keen on that, and Finance Minister is taking a great deal of care on that count. I think coming down to budget, we'll definitely see much more being done about that. And don't forget what has been announced today, that again will boost rural economy, because you get rupees 2,000, 6,000 a year to purchase your basic necessities, input items which go into agricultural farming. Therefore, you save the money which you would otherwise have spent in agricultural input, and part of it you can also spend in consumption. So that, I think, is an ongoing process of Modi government.
Absolutely, sir. Mr. Tandon, closing comments from you.
I think a massive reach out was done today by the Prime Minister and his entire team, including the Agriculture Minister, talking directly not only to the farmer but also to the countryman, that this is exactly what government has done for the benefit of the farming community, the agriculture sector. If something more needs to be done, the government has an open mind and they are willing to discuss everything on the table, and there is no reason why good sense should prevail in the minds of the agitating farmer, and at least what the nation expects from them is to return to the negotiating table.
All right, so dialogue is the best way to resolve all issues. On that note, thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. So that's all we have for you in this edition of Discussion Today. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.